Speaker, I rise to take a call on behalf of the opposition on this, the first reading of the Taxation Income Sharing Tax Credit Bill. Mr. Speaker, may I take the opportunity to recognise and acknowledge the effort that the Minister who's resumed his seat has put into this issue over a number of years. The consultation around this issue was first undertaken under the former Labour-led government, and it has to be acknowledged that this has been a passion of the Minister's over a good part of his parliamentary career. Secondly, sir, I think it fitting that the House acknowledge that the intentions of this bill are good. And certainly I would not demur from the Minister's statement that the raising of children is the most important function that any of us can undertake. And further, that the pressures upon families in our country at the moment are intense. They are intense because New Zealand has found itself caught in the grips of a world recession that it is struggling to emerge out of, and that many of our families have seen their principal income earners face enormous challenge and wage restraint and jobs lost, 160,000 unemployed. And only today, sir, we learned that the latest GDP growth figures were only 1/4 of those forecast by the Reserve Bank. Growth is collapsing, Mr. Speaker. Our economy is in trouble and our families are in trouble. So no New Zealander would demur from the idea that it would be a wonderful thing if we could give some relief. And that is why we'll be making announcements over the next week, sir, that will contribute to that goal. Mr. Speaker, it is no surprise that in the consultation undertaken on this bill, 90% of respondents thought that it would be a wonderful idea to receive a $500 million tax windfall. What I want to know is who are the 10% that didn't want it? The childless, perhaps. But one can hardly be surprised that people were enamoured of the idea of receiving free money. But, sir, in all seriousness, this is, I guess, where we part company with the Minister. Mr. Speaker, if one is concerned to address the issues of child poverty in New Zealand, which is where this fundamentally is headed, then the Labour Party believes that there are much, much better ways to achieve that goal. And indeed, we are working on breakthrough policy in that area to bring to the New Zealand public in the 2011 election. Certainly, sir, there are better ways to provide flexibility for families and partnerships as to how they structure childcare. It was Labour, sir, that brought in the paid parental leave. And it may be possible, sir, for us to look at extensions to the current level of paid parental leave. And I want to commend my colleague, Sue Moroney, for her work in that regard and her development of a members' bill in pursuit of that idea. And, sir, it may also be possible for us to extend the 20 hours free early childhood education allowance, which the previous Labour-led government brought to New Zealanders. Both, sir, would be at significantly less fiscal cost than the $500 million price tag of the measure that is contained in this bill. And, sir, most importantly, either of those measures or a restructuring, thirdly, of the tax and benefit structure around the lowest income New Zealanders, including beneficiaries, any one of those, sir, would achieve better health and social well-being outcomes at lower fiscal cost than this bill proposes. Sir, I have to take issue with the Minister when he said that any measure that affected the taxation of families would have a similar result, which of course is that the more you earn, the more you gain from the tax change. Now, of course, this is capped so that the benefit of the tax splitting, and I don't particularly think it's appropriate that we use the word sharing, because that's a kind of touchy-feely, spin-filled word. It is actually the income tax splitting up to a threshold of $140,000 a year. Mr. Speaker, the effect of that is that the closer you are to the $140,000 threshold, the more tax remission you get. But in fact, the needs of the children are greater the less income you get. So that's perverse. That's perverse. It's the children of the poorest that are struggling the most, and yet this tax benefit goes mainly to to the children of the middle class. It may be the minister's constituency, but it's not the area of greatest social need. Mr. Speaker, the next problem is one of design. This comes on top of, it is a cumulative effect, on top of two previous sets of tax changes that already favour the upper middle class. Firstly, the reduction by the incoming government within decent haste of the 39-cent tax rate to 38 cents, a windfall, of course, to upper income earners, and including people, to be fair to the minister, over $140,000. And in Budget 2010, sir, we've seen that extended all the way to the reduction of income tax to 33 cents. Now, while there may be some design advantages in equating it with the trust rate, it cannot be removed that this again is a windfall to the top income earners, and in fact a full third of the tax remission goes to the top 5% of income earners. I'll say it again, a third of the tax remission goes to the top 5% of income earners in the government's plan. Oh, and the member raises GST. Well, here we go again, because I am bound to remind the House and the New Zealand public that if the government was so convinced that there was a net benefit to ordinary New Zealanders after the tax switch and after inflation, they would have had the moral courage to put the inflation impact in their online tax calculator. But did they? No, they did not. What do the budget documents tell New Zealanders about the net impact of the tax switch and inflation? Well, one number, 5.9% inflation next year. And on those numbers it takes until 2014, 2 elections away, for an average or minimum wage earner to break even. To break even, Mr. Speaker. Well, that'll be joyfully received in the hills and dales of Remuera, but not so in my electorate of New Lynn, and I would say not even in the members' electorate of Oharu, of my very proud electorate, Mr. Quinn, of New Lynn, which I'm happy to say has returned me to Parliament for 3 consecutive terms, and I'm now enjoying a 4th. So it can't be random, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Quinn, can it? Something must be happening out there for the good people of New Lynn. And in fact, Mr. Joyce is rushing to New Lynn tomorrow, as it happens, to celebrate the opening of the railway station that Labor paid for. How tremendous of him to grace us with his presence, to open the station, cut the ribbon and kiss the babies. All the hard work, Mr. Speaker, was done by Michael Cullinan, if I might add, with the dutiful efforts of the MP for New Lynn. Merry Christmas, New Lynn. $300 million worth of first-class infrastructure brought to you by the Labor-led government, and how very nice of Stephen Joyce to come and celebrate with us in our humble community. We shall roll out the red carpet for him. He can be assured of that. And back to the bill, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge the Honourable Peter Dunn. He's one of the longest-serving members of this House, and Mr. Speaker, I believe he's a member with his heart in the right place. And we don't demur from the intent of this bill, and we don't demur from the idea that every Kiwi child needs a helping hand and a fair start. But, Mr. Speaker, if you had $500 million to spend in pursuit of that aim, you would not spend it in this piece of legislation. Nor would you do that, sir, after 2 consecutive tax changes in 2 consecutive budgets have already delivered a windfall to the upper end, and unfortunately that's what this bill does up to a point of $140,000 a year. The returns increase up to that point and then flatten off. So, sir, Labor is going to be bringing forward to the public of New Zealand policies which are better designed, more far-reaching and more impactful on the position of the children of the poor. Labor is going to bring to the electorate a new opportunity for every Kiwi child to get ahead, for every Kiwi family to have the pressure reduced, and for those who have had it toughest, the relief will be most tangible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.